Imagine a vast land, stretching from icy Arctic shores to sun-baked steppes. This is a place where the extremes of nature coexist, creating a unique and diverse landscape that has shaped the lives of its inhabitants for centuries. From the frozen tundras in the north to the rolling plains in the south, the sheer scale of this land is awe-inspiring. This is Russia, a country shaped by mighty rivers like the Volga and the Don. These rivers are not just geographical features, they are the lifeblood of the nation, providing water, transportation, and fertile lands for agriculture. The Volga, often referred to as the national river of Russia, has been a crucial artery for trade and communication for centuries. It's a land of dense forests, home to bears and wolves where the wilderness still holds sway. These forests are not just habitats for wildlife, they are also a source of resources and a place of mystery and legend. The vast taiga stretching across the northern part of the country is one of the largest forested areas in the world, a place where winters are long and harsh with temperatures plunging well below freezing. The Russian winter is legendary, known for its severity and beauty. Snow blankets the landscape, transforming it into a serene yet formidable environment. Survival in such conditions has shaped the resilience and character of the Russian people. And summers are short but sweet, a brief respite from the cold where the land bursts into life. Flowers bloom, and the countryside becomes a vibrant tapestry of colors. This fleeting season is cherished, a time for growth and renewal before the cycle of winter begins anew. For centuries, this land was home to Slavic tribes, hardy people who braved the elements and carved out a living. These early inhabitants were skilled in adapting to their environment, using the resources available to them to build communities and sustain their way of life. Their traditions and culture laid the foundation for what would become the Russian nation. They traded furs and timber, commodities that were highly valued and sought after. The fur trade in particular played a significant role in the economy, with Russian furs being prized across Europe and Asia. Timber from the vast forests was another crucial resource used for building and fuel. Their lives intertwined with the rhythms of nature. The changing seasons dictated their activities, from planting and harvesting to hunting and gathering. This close relationship with the natural world fostered a deep respect for the land and its cycles. But destiny had other plans for these people, as they began to organize and expand their territories. The early Slavic tribes gradually united, forming larger communities and establishing trade routes that connected them with distant lands, a destiny that would see them rise to form a powerful empire. The formation of the Russian Empire marked a new chapter in the history of this land as it grew in size and influence. The empire's expansion brought together diverse cultures and regions under a single rule. From these humble beginnings, a new power emerged. Cities were built, and architectural marvels began to dot the landscape. The rise of cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg signaled the growing strength and sophistication of the Russian state. The story of Russia is a tale of triumphs and tragedies, of revolutions and resilience, a narrative marked by periods of great upheaval and remarkable endurance. The Russian people have faced numerous challenges throughout their history, from invasions and wars to internal strife and political change. A story that continues to unfold on the world stage today. Modern Russia, with its rich cultural heritage and complex history, remains a significant player in global affairs. The legacy of its past continues to shape its present and future as the nation navigates the challenges and opportunities of the 21st century. In the 9th century, a Viking warrior named Rurik arrived in the lands of the Slavs. He united the warring tribes and established a dynasty that would rule for centuries. This was the birth of the Rus, the forerunner to modern Russia. Rurik's successors moved south, establishing their capital in Kiev, a bustling city on the Dnieper River. These early rulers embraced Christianity, bringing their people into the fold of Byzantine culture and learning. The Kievan Rus flourished, a beacon of trade and culture connecting the Byzantine Empire in the south with the Viking world in the north. But internal strife and external threats weakened the Rus, setting the stage for a new chapter in Russian history. As the Kievan Rus crumbled, a new power emerged in the north, the Principality of Moscow. Surrounded by forests, Moscow was a natural fortress, well placed to withstand invaders. From humble beginnings, Moscow grew in power and influence. Under Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, Moscow broke free from Mongol domination and declared itself an independent kingdom. Ivan was a ruthless ruler, expanding his realm through conquest and consolidating his power through fear. He created the Oprichnina, a secret police force that terrorized the land, eliminating rivals and instilling obedience. Despite his brutality, Ivan the Terrible laid the foundation for a powerful and centralized Russian state. In the late 17th century, a young Tsar named Peter came to the throne. Peter, later known as Peter the Great, was not content with the status quo. He had a vision for Russia that was far more ambitious than any of his predecessors. He wanted to transform his country into a formidable European power. Determined to modernize his realm, Peter embarked on a series of radical reforms that would transform Russia forever. He understood that to compete with the great powers of Europe, Russia needed to catch up in terms of technology, military strength, and cultural sophistication. He traveled to Western Europe in disguise, eager to learn the secrets of their success. Peter visited shipyards, factories, and military installations, absorbing as much knowledge as he could. He even worked incognito in Dutch shipyards to understand the intricacies of shipbuilding. Inspired by his travels, Peter returned to Russia and implemented sweeping changes. He reformed the government, reorganized the military, and introduced new administrative divisions to streamline governance. His reforms touched every aspect of Russian life. He modernized the army and navy, built new cities, and established new educational institutions to train the next generation of Russian leaders. Peter's vision was not just about military might. He wanted to create a society that was enlightened and progressive. He encouraged the adoption of Western customs and technology. This included everything from fashion to architecture, and even social etiquette. Peter believed that by embracing Western ways, Russia could become a more dynamic and competitive nation. Peter's most lasting legacy was the founding of St. Petersburg, a new capital built on the shores of the Baltic Sea. This city was designed to be Russia's window to the West, a symbol of the country's new direction and ambitions. This window to the West symbolized Peter's desire to bring Russia out of its isolation and into the heart of European affairs. St. Petersburg became a bustling hub of culture, trade, and diplomacy, embodying Peter's vision of a modern European Russia. Section 5. Catherine the Great, Empress of Ambition. Catherine the Great, a German princess who became Empress of Russia, continued Peter's legacy of modernization and expansion. A shrewd politician and a patron of the arts, Catherine's reign was a golden age for the Russian Empire. She extended Russia's borders further south, conquering Crimea and securing access to the Black Sea. Catherine also championed education and Enlightenment ideals, earning her the title the Great from her admirers. Despite her achievements, Catherine's reign was also marked by peasant uprisings and the tightening grip of serfdom. These simmering tensions would eventually boil over, setting the stage for revolution in the centuries to come. Section 6. The Seeds of Revolution. The 19th century saw Russia wrestling with the challenges of modernity. It was a time of profound transformation, where the old ways of life were increasingly at odds with the new forces of change sweeping across Europe. The Russian Empire, vast and diverse, was struggling to keep pace with the rapid advancements in technology, industry, and social organization. The Industrial Revolution brought factories and railroads, connecting distant parts of the empire and fostering economic growth. These developments promised progress and prosperity, but they also came with significant costs. The rapid industrialization created a new class of urban workers who often found themselves living in squalid conditions. Overcrowded slums, poor working conditions, and low wages were the harsh realities for many. This burgeoning working class began to voice their discontent, seeking better living and working conditions. Meanwhile, the vast majority of Russians remained peasants, working the land as their ancestors had for centuries. Despite the changes happening in the cities, rural life remained largely unchanged, with peasants bound to their villages and struggling to survive. These peasants were tied to the land and their feudal lords, living under a system that offered little hope for improvement. The disparity between the wealthy landowners and the impoverished peasants was stark, fueling resentment and a desire for change. The reign of Tsar Nicholas II, the last of the Romanov dynasty, was marked by growing unrest. His inability to address the pressing issues of the time only exacerbated the situation. The Tsar's autocratic rule and resistance to reform alienated many, including those within his own government. This period was marked by increasing protests and strikes, as people from all walks of life demanded change. The Tsarist regime's heavy-handed response to these demonstrations only served to inflame tensions further. Defeat in the Russo-Japanese War exposed the weaknesses of the Tsarist regime, shaking public confidence in the government. The war, intended to bolster national pride and distract from domestic issues, instead highlighted the regime's incompetence and inability to modernize the military. The Bloody Sunday massacre of peaceful protesters in 1905 further fueled the flames of discontent. The brutal crackdown on unarmed civilians seeking reform shocked the nation and the world, leading to widespread outrage and a surge in revolutionary fervor. As Russia entered the 20th century, the seeds of revolution had been sown. The combination of social, economic, and political pressures created a volatile environment, ripe for upheaval. Revolutionary ideas began to spread, gaining traction among the disillusioned masses. Pamphlets, speeches, and underground movements called for an end to the old order and the establishment of a new, more just society. The stage was set for a cataclysmic upheaval that would change the course of Russian history forever. The revolution that was to come would not only topple the centuries-old monarchy, but also reshape the social and political landscape of the nation, leaving an indelible mark on the world. Section 7. The Fall of the Tsar and the Rise of the Soviets. World War I proved to be the final nail in the coffin of the Tsarist regime. Millions of Russian soldiers perished on the Eastern Front, while food shortages and economic hardship gripped the home front. In February 1917, protests erupted in the streets of Petrograd, as St. Petersburg was then known. The Tsar abdicated, ending centuries of Romanov rule. A provisional government took power, but it was weak and unable to restore order. Into this power vacuum stepped the Bolsheviks, a radical socialist party led by the charismatic Vladimir Lenin. Section 8. The Hammer and Sickle over the Kremlin. In October 1917, the Bolsheviks, promising peace, land, and bread, seized power in a near-bloodless coup. This was the Bolshevik Revolution, a pivotal event that would send shockwaves around the world. The Bolsheviks established the world's first communist state, the Soviet Union, and set about building a new society based on the principles of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. The early years of the Soviet Union were marked by civil war, famine, and political repression. But from the ashes of the old order emerged a new Russia, a global superpower that would challenge the West for decades to come. Section 9. A New Russia for a New Millennium. The Soviet Union, after surviving a brutal war against Nazi Germany, eventually collapsed in 1991. It was a time of great upheaval and uncertainty for the Russian people. From the ruins of the Soviet Union emerged a new Russia, a nation grappling with the legacy of its tumultuous past while trying to forge a new identity in a rapidly changing world. The story of Russia is far from over. It continues to be a land of contradictions, a place of immense beauty and harsh realities, a nation forever searching for its place on the world stage.